Hey Matt, Big Brother Spoilers from Instagram here. I was so sad to see you go on Thursday night as you're my winner pick. How are you feeling a few days after your eviction?
I'm feeling good, man. I know that I've been following a lot of your content. It's been helping me stay up to date with all that's been going on. So shout out to all that you do, the work you put in. Even for myself, getting off, it's helped me caught off. But I'm doing good. I'm trying to catch up on all that's happened. But man, what an honor to have played.
So let's say you win the AI arena and you stay in the game. Kenny goes out and you win the HOH. Who are your three nominees and why?
Yeah, great question. I'm definitely going with Angela. I definitely would have put up Joseph because I felt like he was getting a little slimy and had something to do with it. And honestly, I knew Quinn had the upgrade. I knew it out of power, process of elimination. I don't know why people aren't realizing that sooner right now. My three noms would have been Angela, Joseph, Quinn, 100%.
So speaking of Angela, where do you think your relationship with her first went wrong?
Yeah, I mean, probably just when I took my first breath, is what it kind of feels like. But, I definitely look back on the situation. I could understand where she was coming from and perceiving that as a threat. I really did not mean it that way. For me, I was kind of like, every single nominee had perceived getting put up as a blindside, at least in what they had communicated to me. So they all felt blindsided by being put up. And I was, my perspective was like, hey, Angela, I mean, if you put me up, then I mean, the next week, if I win, I would put you up. Also, like the sky's blue and the grass is green. I didn't see that as a threat, but I definitely think that's where, in the context of our relationship, I mean, things definitely went south. Also, maybe the area where things went south is just when I walked in, looking how I was made, the moment I came out of my mother's womb, because I got pinned with a showman's comment literally in like the first hour of being in the house. So, who knows?
Speaking of your showmance, MacKenzie, why do you think she didn't use the America's veto power to save you?
Yeah, well, I think for several reasons, but one being I never would have asked her to. I never, MacKenzie is a kick-ass girl. She's strong. She came to play the game too. My game or her game was never going to be dependent on each other, and we were going to play singularly, regardless of where things might develop outside of the house. But we already knew that. I never would have asked her to use it. I think thinking that I could just bat my eyes and smile and give her a little whatever, like was going to get her to just throw away like one of the most powerful resources in the game. No way. So I definitely think she's too strong to do that. She's too kick-ass to do that. She's playing her own game. And I mean, I never would have asked her to do it, even though she did mention to me that if she genuinely felt like we didn't have the votes, that she would use it. But at the end of the day, I would have never whispered that in her ear. I would have never put that in there. Her game is her game, and I hope she uses it and continues to strategize with it to get her super, super far.
What if the roles were reversed and she was on the block and you had the power? Would you have saved her?
Boy, that's a great question. I would have leaned in that direction. I mean, at the end of the day, I trusted MacKenzie more than anybody in the house. I mean, for obvious reasons. She's obviously super pretty, but at the same time, like she was always my safe place. She was the most person, like the person that I felt like the most was being who they actually are on the outside. I also felt like she just would never stab me in the back. That's a luxury being in the Big Brother house. So she would have been really vital to my game, even if we had to go behind each other's back at some point late in the game. I would have wrote it out with MacKenzie till the very end, and I never would have turned on her.
Who do you feel the most betrayed by?
Honestly, Rabina. I mean, I never would have voted for Rabina, and I never would have put Rabina on the block, at least without directly telling her. So I know that very early on in the game, you could see it in the first episode that we were all together, that we had a huge connection over our Filipino heritage, and we had communicated to each other that I would never vote her. I would never put her on the block. She even said verbatim to me that we were playing for something bigger than just this game. And I guess that just didn't happen to be the case when it came down to the vote.
You were in the barbershop alliance. Did you think this alliance was real, and did you think they would vote to keep you over Kenny?
I think whether it was going to be BS or not, it was the best chance I had. I mean, it was the only people that came to me and offered an alliance. I knew I had that to work with, and I knew that if there was a moment where I never at least got it locked, then that was just the best shot I had moving forward. So I had put in a lot of work to try to get everybody together. I think, maybe even looking back, people might have been avoiding like locking it in because they would have had to lie. But I knew that if I was going to go, I was at least going to have to make every single person in the house who told me I had their vote, I was going to have to make them lie to my face so that everybody would know if I'm ever locked with anybody in this house, I can't trust it like I think that I might.
You were able to build such a close bond with Kenny in 10 days that he was basically willing to give up his game for you. How were you able to build such a close bond with him so quickly?
Yeah, I mean, genuine connection. On the first night, Kenny had communicated to me that he'd been in the service, he was in the Air Force, and I had mentioned to him that, funny enough, I'm the first line of the first generation in my family. It's actually not going to the service. And I told him about my dad, leaving the Air Force and becoming a police officer. At the time, I had no idea until the moment I got out of the house that Kenny is actually a police officer. I thought he like has a food truck and cooks brats for a living. So I was like, what? So I gained a lot of trust with him through the unknown, which doesn't happen a lot in Big Brother. So at least the unknown did benefit me in one area.
Would you have wanted to stay in the game for a chance at the 750K or for more time with MacKenzie?
I mean, I played Big Brother first and foremost for the 750K, but spending time with MacKenzie would definitely be a positive. I mean, could we have, had our cake and eat it too? Gosh, I would have hoped so. And I would have fought to try to make that the reality, but definitely wanted to win the game. And I think we all knew, even with the Thromance Alliance, like if this actually works, there's going to be a day where we're going to have to figure it out against each other. And it's just going to be, we're in a game and we'll figure it out on the outside. We didn't get to have that opportunity, but I would have been playing to win. I knew that from the beginning. It would have been really, really hard to take MacKenzie out, but that would have been a plus.
What will you be taking away from the game that you've learned about yourself or about life?
Yeah, absolutely. One, I think the biggest thing, it wasn't even something I learned in the game. It was something I learned, at the beginning of this year, just through, my own personal life of betrayal and, people not being who that they say that they were, relationship issues that taught me a lot that I had to learn the hard way. And so it built up already this resiliency in me to know that like forgiveness and reconciliation have to be the route that I choose. It is the best thing for me. There's a quote that says that bitterness is like drinking poison and expecting it to harm the other person. And so that's kind of what I've learned in my personal life. But even in the game, it did solidify what I feel like I've learned, prior to entering into the house, that I could stand in the context of what happened with the situation with Angela and be confident that that is a piece of me and that's a value of which I want to live my life. You cannot make the decision in a moment that intense and that extreme of producing integrity and forgiveness and grace. But that's something thankfully I had established before, but got to solidify at a really, really high level and a really, really high stake. And I'm really proud of the results of a lot of the work I've put in at the beginning of this year.
All right, Matt, I know you have a lot of interviews to get to today, so thanks for making time to chat with me.
Absolutely. More than happy to continue to support you in your platform any way that I can. Thank you so much for the time and the love and support.